Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of One Piece Collection 37. Okay, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? You do shit by like weird-ass seasons and shit. Yes, however, this is the start of Wano Country. That fucker is like almost 200 episodes long. And, I need to break it up somehow. So, this is the beginning of it. I'm going to do it kind of like this, or at least in chunks of like 25 episodes or whatnot, a kind of more manageable kind of thing. This actually works out in my favor because I know that like the Wano country is kind of divided into like 5 parts, and this shows like the end of Act 1, first part kind of thing, which I think was a very effective introduction to Wano country. There are 3 kind of weird-ass episodes that pop up in here, like 2 side ones tying into like a movie and a like anniversary special for One Piece. But other than that, works out pretty well. Though there are some ones where like certain kind of fights go over long or like reuse some kind of animation to kind of fill in kind of pacing. But I really enjoyed this. So we start off and we see that the Thousand Sunny is like shacked up and kind of screwed up, and we're like, alright Luffy, what the fuck's going on? He is by himself, and we see like this lion dog thing getting chased by a baboon, and it's like, okay, what's kind of going on here? Luffy's just like, alright, I'm chilling, I'll just try and figure out how to like group up with my people. But of course we see this little girl getting chased by Kaido's group. And you're like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on here? And Luffy, of course, cracks him. The little girl is able to, like, take some kind of weird fucking thing from her cheek and is able to make the baboon onto her side. And of course, after Luffy has pretty much taken out these assholes and pretty much gotten on this little girl's good side, Otama, we see that these group were under the control of Basil Hawkins, that he has been put under Kaido's control. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'd seen the worst generation and that Kaido was pretty much going after them. And we're like, alright, how's this kind of going to work out? We see that Luffy is then taken to Otama's home and she feeds him a meal. And it's just pretty much rice and like the barest kind of minimum. And we see that Luffy does eat. He, of course, is more of a kind of glutton. But he's like, hey, do you have any more? And she's like, no, that's all I've got. And we learned that that was all the food that she was able to get. She makes and sells hats, and it was like for her birthday. And of course, her stomach's growling and everything. But this is just showcasing what's kind of to come here and what's been going on in Wano country. We do also see little bits and pieces of the other group and what they've been doing in their time as well. Zoro, Frankie, Nico, and Usopp. And that they've pretty much taken undercover kind of identities and are trying to kind of work their way under the Shogun's kind of watchful gaze and trying to gather information. And the thing is, there's a difference between the Shogun and Kaido. Even though Kaido is the one that's kind of running everything as the Emperor, we still also have the Shogun of Wano doing his kind of shit. And we also check in on that and see how he really takes down the Kazuki family name and really is trying to fuck with them as we learn more lore and everything going on, which is fucking awesome as we start going through this. Man, it gets really fucking nutty as we get other kind of elements introduced in this arc. Let's see. Yeah, and then my main thing is that we're starting to get this kind of stuff, and then we get the pacing of like the side story where they kind of get attacked by these other kind of bounty hunters trying to go after them with cider. And Luffy just teams up with Boa Hancock and her sisters and, like, cracks ass. It's like, alright, 2 episodes, it's fine. It's just, we're, like, right at the beginning of Wano, and, let's see. Doot. And then we get, like, these 2 side story ones. It's like, alright. So, we see that Otama has decided to go out and drink water to try and make her stomach stop growling. However, we learn that the water is poisoned, and it's been polluted by Kaido and his forces. What they've been doing for making weapons, they've pretty much poisoned the land almost irreparably. And they've got this one farm that's pretty much for Kaido and the upper echelon. This severely fucking pisses off Luffy. We also see that she has an affinity for Ace as well, as Luffy relays the information that Ace has died. However, he doesn't entail the whole kind of history of what goes on between him and Ace. We see that Ace had visited there, and that he had said that he'd come back, and that he would take her on his crew if she became like a bewitching ninja, as that is her goal. And it's like, oh my god, Ace. But that has been pretty much her goal, and the kind of worship and what's been keeping her going, because there's nobody else there except her and her master. We see that Luffy's giving clothes and even takes a cursed fucking sword. The funniest goddamn thing about this whole sword-ass thing is that he's like, I'm gonna make myself look like a samurai. What does he do when he fights with his fucking sword? He essentially always punches with it. Now, he does block with certain kind of shit, and I love that he gets linked up with Zoro. And Zoro's like, Luffy, give me the goddamn fucking sword. Because he's tossing the scabbard around. He's just punching with it. And Zoro's on the run because there's this dude that's been killing people. And this magistrate pretty much tries to pin it on him. And he's like, fuck you all. And pretty much kicks ass. And the thing is, Luffy is attempting to save Otama because she drank the poison, the polluted water. And he needs to get her to a place to get medicine and everything. So he's riding pretty much the lion dog, and of course Zoro's pretty much out in the wilderness because the town thinks that he's like the fucking slasher dude. Usopp's like, oh god. Frankie's like, shit. And Nico's like, god damn it. And each of them are in different kind of spots and places, as we learn throughout. They've got certain different kind of objectives. Frankie pretty much with like building and security plans. Nico trying to get close to the Shogun. Usopp pretty much going on the ground to look for rebel forces that are still loyal to the Kazuki clan and Odin Kazuki. Shit. They do also run into this lady that Zoro pretty much accidentally saves. He was out of sake. And these guys were pretty much coming around to kill her, and he just kicks their ass to get their sake. And she's like, how do I help? And like everything but Basil Hawkins, of course, pops up, and they're trying to protect Otama at the same time. Basil Hawkins definitely showcases that his like strawman powers are not to be fucked with and should be taken seriously. Zoro pretty much doing his Gorilla 1 and 2 and doing his best to kind of like hold off what was kind of going on, but still putting up a pretty decent fight. Atsuru. Yes. Kamichio. Yeah. Let's see. Straw fruit powers, yes. Atsuru, yeah. So they get to Okabore town, and we see that Urashima is trying to court this tea house waitress, Okiku, who is pretty tall, and it makes herself trying to seem like she doesn't know what she's doing, but we learn throughout later that she's a samurai, and she's a badass. Let's see. Of course, Zoro pretty much tells the dude to right the fuck off, just get the fuck out of here. They are able to get medicine to Otama, and we see that there's a lot of fucking wrong-ass shit going on. People being forced to starve, to the point that Otama is trying to reject this food that Otsuru is trying to do, and she's like, I saved your fucking ass. It's really fucked up, and I mean, yeah, it started pissing me the fuck off. I'm like, you fucking assholes. And I'm like, I hate it happening in real life, too. It's just like, you shits. You poison this shit. You force these... Like, this little girl is feeling shame that she's gonna let herself starve because of people's inability to feed themselves. And that she then eventually acquiesces and does it because it's like her birthday and she's having like the best. And Luffy is like... I'm like... Luffy doesn't do this shit smart, but I'm completely on his side to fucking do something and crack wholesale fucking ass on it, alright? Kaido bit, as we get later, and it's like, Luffy, you could have done this a little bit smarter, but, like, he was under the impression of some pretty bad shit going on. So they pretty much go into town because this asshole pops up and pretty much steals Otama away to put to one of the headliners, Hold'em. Of course, the Sumo Urashima dude pretty much pops off. He's going to have a thing in town, and this dude keeps pretty much feeding his toxic tendencies of pretty much trying to take Okiku as his bride no matter what she says. It's like, dude, you're coming on so goddamn fucking strong. Back off. But we see him, like, cracking people out and throwing them around. Luffy and the rest don't know where Otama is. They pretty much want her for her devil fruit power, even though I don't know exactly what it is and what it's called. Though, we do have an idea at the end of this part what it kind of does. Pretty much allows her to be the master of certain animals, which is an important thing, because most of the people here have used the smile fruit artificial devil fruit powers that are used for animal powers. Speed / Horsey, she is one of the headliners as well, and gets fed this and pretty much is under Otama's control. Luffy's trying to, like, order her around, but only Otama can do it. So we see that she is being, they're trying to pretty much use pliers to rip the shit off of her face to try and see what's kind of going on. And it's like, you fuckers. Of course, this pisses off Luffy once he pretty much forces their hand to pretty much come to his ass. We also learn that Law's in the area. He sees what's going on. Is it like, oh, Jesus, fuck. Luffy's gonna fuck this shit up. And it's like, yes. Honestly, after what you've learned from Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, you should learn that if you leave Luffy unattended, this shit is going to happen. So, that's more on you because you've seen this happen 2 times, and you should have made plans for Luffy's going to come here, and Luffy's going to fuck up what we've been attempting to do. It's just how it's going to roll. It's like Luffy should learn, and he kind of does learn, but it's like, oh god. Let's see, that pisses him off, and of course leads to him cracking on Hold'em and utilizing these similar kind of aces, like the Firehawk. We see that Law's trying to salvage the situation as much as possible. Where else was I going? That we learn from that there's this farm that of course feeds the food and everything really good, and they're being treated horrendously as well, but we see that that's being drawn into town, this kind of treasure float thing. So Luffy pretty much kicks the sumo's ass. That was actually a pretty cool ass fight. Luffy changing up his fighting style to go onto more of a sumo kind of thing. Of course, we then have cannon fodder popping up. I did like the cannon fodder fights previously under Basil Hawkins kind of one, where Luffy's just fucking using the sword like, I'm a punch, bitch! And then also kind of blocks some shit. And Zoro's like, let me have that sword, please, motherfucker. Okiku kicking ass as well, still trying to keep herself kind of on the back burner, but we learn why that is as this continues. So we see Hold'em being like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Of course, this starts a lot of shit, and of course draws the attention of Kaido. However, we're like, oh shit. I like how this is done, because if it is not carefully held onto and executed well, you're just gonna get your people raffle stomped, and you're gonna be like, oh god, what's going on? You really need to set the clear expectations. Luffy is not someone that should be taken lightly, but he needs to build himself up and his compatriots to taking on Kaido. And I think that this was good to show Kaido's power, Kaido's group, how far Luffy and his team have come, and what's kind of going on, and what their objectives are at this point, and then setting us up for the next chapter. It's very hard to kind of pull that off with being like, oh god, it's the back and kind of forth. You got this dude having the upper hand, then you got that dude having the upper hand. That's only when battle anime and shonen are not done well. Sometimes you got that plot twist of like, I have the upper hand now, bitch! Where you get that on JoJo's. I kind of appreciate it for how it executes that kind of stuff, even though it's like, okay, hit, and now we get to the protagonist kind of kicking wholesale ass. Here, we see that Luffy's shit just kind of, just fucking, just rolls down a hill. It just gathers and just, like, fucking gets away from him because he sees what's going on. We learn what's going on. It just snowballs. God, how did I fucking go with blank on that fucking thing? It just snowballs. Where he's like, okay, I'm learning this stuff. Gets to Otama. Otama's pretty much trying to be, like, jacked up by these assholes. And then they steal the kind of treasure barge. They go to Okabura Town and feed the people, and they're so happy and everything. And Otama's happy as well. And seeing the kind of influence of Ace and everybody like, Luffy Taro. I was like, yeah, you could kind of pick a little bit better if you're trying to hide shit. We learned that there's also kind of mountain bandits, which kind of links up later with one of Oden Kozuki's previous kind of retainers. But we learn about that they need to go to the Oden Castle to see what's kind of going on. Law pretty much taking them there and being like, God fucking damn it. I leave you alone for 2 seconds and you've already pretty much, like, started trying to, like, fucking take on Kaido. But they get to Oden Castle and we see graves for Momonosuke, Kinemon. And it's like, are they dead? Ghosts? What the fuck's going on? Zoro, of course, also takes a detour fighting a fucking tiger with a goddamn sword. It's like, alright. But we learned that Kinemon's there. He had issues and everything. And learning what was going on. Learning how Oden Kozuki pretty much was like a troublemaker. Very much within the same vein of Goldie Roger. And sorry, I was also remembering something else that links up with Otama. She kind of, like, gets ahead, and of course she gets injured because of Kaido and his forces, and then links up with Dogstorm and Wildcat as their, well, Dogstorm at least, from Zao. And they're trying to help her. It's like, oh god, that's more towards the end. But I wanted to hit on it before I forgot it. So we learned that he was pretty much put into this position, pretty much wandering, and starts helping these people. Let's see here. Let me see if I can... Oh yeah, we also get the Romance Dawn kind of in here, which was interesting as we get pirates that focus on adventure and attack the Morganeers. It's a different kind of thing where he's actually following his grandpa's kind of footsteps and helping out Anne and Balloon. That's a cool, like, little diversion. Let's see. Yeah, Odin just did his own kind of shit. So he was, like, banished from the Flower Capital. He came to the lawless Curry region and then pretty much defeated pretty much, like, the head-ass dude in charge. But yet reformed the criminals. And he was, like, a title of daimyo at the age of 20. Even though he still, like, did his own kind of crazy shit. Very much within the realm of, like, Goldie Roger and Luffy. Oh, no, Dogstorm and Cat Viper. Sorry. Oh, we see them linking up with Oden Kozuki in the past, and how they're like, fuck off, let's train these people and everything. Well, this is kind of going on, and everybody's kind of getting the lowdown, because we also get linked back up with Sanji, Chopper, and Nami, and they're learning everything. We also learn of another kind of ninja working on. Sanji is bereft because, oh my god, she ain't hot. So Zoro's pretty much on his own for a good little bit. Yeah, Kaido and Orochi, the shogun that we've got, formed an alliance and pretty much went after Odin. Odin, a threat to their power. The thing is, the only people that survived were Kinemon, Kanjuro, Kiku, Raizo, and another samurai, and they tried to help Momonosuke's mother, Toki, and younger sister, Hayori. However, we don't know what happened to them, because evidently Momonosuke's mother had the time fruit power and sent them into the future. And were surprised to find that people were still loyal to Odin. In this, they've been waiting 20 years for it. She pretty much gave this whole kind of prophecy kind of thing. Of course, linking to the people that she had sent into the future. It's like, holy shit. This is very kind of different. Introducing time travel, you have to be very careful and you have to be very certain on your rules. Now, at this point, I don't see any kind of problems at the moment. She evidently had been like, she could only send things into the future, not into the past. So it's like, okay. And she was pretty much going to the futures, trying to find pretty much, I think, like King of the Pirates kind of shit. Or trying to pretty much get to the person she loves, Odin. Even though she didn't know him yet. There's a lot of kind of cool stuff that we'll probably learn, but I'm like, ooh, alright, well, let's see how this works out. Let's see. So they were bereft of what had happened. They were able to find people based on their tattoos. And we see that Usopp's pretty much the one in charge, pretty much gathering them. We'd seen that Kiku pretty much had stayed to gather information, while Kinemon and the rest went to gather allies, of course, leading to the events that we had seen before. Let's see. Frankie working on blueprints for Kaido's mansion, while Robin, of course, is going after Orochi. Kinemon is saying that they need to pretty much go for other kind of members. Akazaya 9, Kawamatsu, Ashra Dojo, and Denjiro. Let's see. But then, of course, we see that Kaido is kind of pissed off and drunk and decides to kind of go after what's going on. Jack pretty much is dealing with the one dude, let me see, that... Let's see here. And this one kind of drunken bandit dude that was part of Odin Kozuki's kind of retinue. They're kind of fighting, but then Kaido has turned into a dragon, and we pretty much see off his power as he's pretty much threatening a lot of stuff. Of course, he hurt Otama. He pretty much blasts Odin Castle and destroys it. Luffy was pretty much trying to go down to get into a fight to pretty much stop him from destroying Okabori Town. Okabori Town? Yeah, Okabori Town. But the thing is, Kaido then let off a hellacious blast that destroyed Odin Castle. However, the shinobi woman was able to protect everybody and pretty much put them into a hole. But Chopper had to go into like his guard point form to keep everybody there. It was bad because Luffy went off, and the fight that he was able to do with Kaido, beautiful animation. Like, we see Luffy trying his best, but Kaido is still... He kind of knocks Kaido back into his human form, but then Kaido utilizes pretty much one of his strongest kind of thunder kind of based attacks and just like blasts Luffy, and he gets knocked out, but Luffy's still fucking glaring at his ass, and Luffy is now captured, and it's like, shit, what do we do now? And that's pretty much where it starts to, where it kind of ends at the part. Let's see. Thunder Bagua. No, it wasn't like... Hawkins pretty much fucks Law up to the point that he can't really save Luffy, so that's why Luffy's on his own. And, of course, Kaido's like, fuck the worst generation kind of shit. Let's see. Luffy being in prison in the Udon region... And we see that their whole kind of plan is that there's this whole kind of party thing that's going to be going on. Who are going to infiltrate and try and take out Kaido with all these different kind of plans. That, however, is thrown out the window kind of at the moment because Luffy is captured and linked up with actually Eustace Kid, who is missing an arm. And they're like, you guys? What the fuck? And of course, nobody knows. They're just like, yeah, fuck this dude. But we see that... There's that dude there. We've got one dude who's told to not have bones, and one of the dudes is pretty much killed because the dude fucking eats the fish and shoots the bones into somebody else. It's like, oh god, oh god, who the fuck's this? What the fuck's that? And there's a lot of kind of cool stuff that's kind of going on here. I like how this arc started. I'm like, alright, this is kind of weird, but we'll see how this works out. Yeah, Act 1 of the Wano arc. And of course, everybody is like, ah, shit, Luffy's fucking captured. So they're trying to figure out what's kind of going on here. I liked the understanding of how Kaido and Orochi's reign is going here. We see them doing their propaganda of pretty much sullying Odin's name. We see that still has not stopped them from having supporters, having the crescent moon tattoo on their ankles, and that Luffy has to work in a better kind of way here, even though things are very bad. They have to help, but they have to be smart in how they help, because taking on Kaido like this wasn't the smartest kind of option. And he'll need to learn that his crew is alive. They need to link up and do what they need to do. He should have kept those kind of lessons in mind from what happened with Big Mom. And I know that Big Mom kind of pops up in here as well, so we'll see how that kind of fucking works out. I keep things to a minimum of spoilers or whatnot when I'm like, I don't try to look ahead very much, but there's stuff of like, yeah, they pop up. So I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see what goes on more through the arc. I know that Collection 38 is coming out in August. Even if I did like Crunchyroll streaming service or whatnot, or any kind of other one, is too big to do certain kind of ones. If I can find, like, if anything, I would do things at like 25 episode chunks to make this more manageable. At least at that kind of route. Maybe even by the different kind of parts. I was just lucky that this motherfucker started and ended Act 1 as it did. So, yay. Quality-wise was good as well, because it's got the Blu-ray, and I'm like, yay. And I like the introduction of all the different kind of characters. Otama was interesting to kind of link us up and show us a certain kind of perspective of what's been going on in Wano. And then we get the different kind of perspective of Kinemon and him attempting to take down Kaido and Orochi. Yes, that can link them up, but we get Otama's an important one because she is the kind of just regular kind of person that isn't with Luffy, though can be drawn into Luffy's sphere because of what's been kind of going on. Then, of course, Okabore Town, we see that they would have that Luffy would have their support because he fucking fed him and was like, yeah, have fun, guys. And I really like just seeing the difference of what kind of goes on with Wano. Even though you could probably argue that the sumo kind of thing was kind of weird and stupid, I like that it showed Luffy fighting in a different kind of thing and trying to learn different kind of styles of what's going on. I think it changes up the action, and I think that's an important part whenever you're watching an action kind of movie. You don't want to get stuck in the same kind of rut of doing the same things over and over again. You want to find as fresh of a course as possible, and that kind of varies up the action. Yes, Luffy can punch and do all these kind of things, but what happens if he's put into a kind of sumo kind of situation? And also the Hold'em was kind of crazy because he's got kind of powers, but he's got a fucking lion-ass thing in his stomach, and Luffy's like, what the fuck is kind of going on with that? Oh, there's so much interesting kind of crazy things. Like, I love that Luffy kind of like broke the plan off the back, right off the bat, and that they're like, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? It didn't completely and utterly derail and destroy what was going on for the group, but it severely hampers their plans that we got to get fucking Luffy out of this fucking like mine quarry fucking thing. What are we going to do here? Zoro's still on the run, but the thing is, it's kind of funny because of like his just fucked up sense of direction kind of, I think, works in his favor. So that way they can't really get his ass. I can't wait to see what goes on here. Kaido is definitely presented as a very interesting kind of villain that Luffy is definitely going to have to plan out and do better to take down. And there's a lot of crazy shit that's probably going to pop off and go off. So I am in it for this. I mean, I was like, I know this anime is long as shit, so I don't know, I'll check this shit out, and of course it grabbed me, and it grabbed me fucking hellaciously, and then each arc I find different and interesting kind of things to get into with people, and really into the world, and this one is gonna be a fucking gnarly ass one, not just because of its length and what I've heard of it, even though I tend to try and like keep it to a minimum, but I'm like, yeah, let's see this, and then then we get to Egghead. There's a lot of crazy shit. So those are my opinions on the collection. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.